So let's talk about Joel Greenberg's 86-page plea and cooperation agreement and what is likely the scariest sentence to Matt Gaetz in that entire 86 pages. Because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So I just finished a quick appearance with Yasmin Vasugian on MSNBC, one of my favorite anchors. I'm not supposed to have favorites, so don't tell anybody. But we were talking all things Joel Greenberg. And I'll tell you, I finally made my way through all 86 pages of Joel Greenberg's plea and cooperation agreement. Friends, I was a prosecutor for 30 years. I never drafted an 86-page plea and cooperation agreement, but I'm sure glad these prosecutors did. And we're going to talk about why that is. But first of all, the way prosecutors bring defendants on board to become cooperating witnesses is we sit down with them for interview after interview under a temporary immunity agreement, which says they can tell us everything about their own crimes and the crimes of others. And while we're involved in this process of deciding whether we want to bring them on board as cooperating witnesses, none of the statements they make can be used against them. So we sit in small, secure interview rooms with the defendant and his lawyer, with our FBI agents and our criminal investigators, and we listen to what Joel Greenberg has to say. And then we go out and we investigate every single assertion he makes about the crimes of others, because we want to make sure if we're going to sign somebody up as a cooperating witness and sponsor their testimony in court, it's got to be the truth. So I am certain Joel Greenberg and the prosecutors down in Florida, the federal prosecutors, have been involved in this process for months. And they finally reached a point where they were comfortable and confident that Greenberg was telling the truth and that they could corroborate it to their satisfaction. So that's why they offered him this remarkable plea agreement. He was charged with 33 felony crimes. They let him plead guilty to 6, and they agreed to dismiss 27 crimes. That tells me he landed some big fish, and we'll know soon enough who those big fish are. But as I was going through this 86-page plea agreement, I think what's most notable about it is when you're dealing with a guy like Joel Greenberg, because Joel Greenberg is one ugly character, and I'm not talking about his appearance, I'm talking about the crimes he committed. Sex trafficking of a minor, abusing his public office for personal financial gain, ginning up false identifications for all sorts of reasons, smearing, lying about a political opponent because that opponent had the temerity to announce a run against him as county tax collector. So he started to lie about that opponent, saying the opponent was involved in underage sex with students and was a white supremacist. I mean, these are horrific crimes. Joel Greenberg is not the kind of guy whose word you're going to take unless it is corroborated up and down. And it is. So what I saw in this plea agreement was 60 pages of receipts, of corroboration of the crimes of Joel Greenberg and the crimes of others. Now, this agreement doesn't name who those others are, but let's talk about the one sentence that will probably strike fear into the heart of Matt Gaetz and anybody else who was involved in criminal activity with Joel Greenberg. It appears on page 30 of the plea agreement, and here's how it reads. Greenberg also introduced the minor, that is, one of the people Greenberg was sex trafficking. Greenberg also introduced the minor to other adult men, plural, who engaged in commercial sex acts with the minor in the Middle District of Florida. Now, these men are not yet named, and that's exactly what I would expect in this kind of plea paperwork. Why is that? Well, prosecutors are not going to start naming who they're going to lock up next until they have an arrest warrant and, frankly, an arrest photo and a perp walk. Because if you announce who it is the evidence has now mounted against, you give that person an opportunity to flee. You give that person an opportunity to destroy evidence. You give that person an opportunity to tamper with witnesses. So that's why that reference to other men who were involved in this child sex trafficking scheme and sexual conduct with a minor, together with Joel Greenberg, were not named in this plea paperwork. But get ready, folks, because it's about to get real for those men. The other thing that I think is worth mentioning is we know that there have been reports that Joel Greenberg was trying to get himself a pardon for his crimes, and he was coordinating with Roger Stone. And in those communications with Roger Stone, he said, look, I did this stuff. I saw Matt Gaetz do this stuff. I really need a pardon. But what does that tell us? That tells us that one of Joel Greenberg's confidants is convicted and pardoned felon Roger Stone. So whatever Joel Greenberg knows about the potential criminal activity of Roger Stone, the feds know it as well. And they can use it, and if it rises to the level of evidence sufficient to indict Roger Stone for additional crimes, well, then Roger Stone may be next, along with Matt Gaetz and others about whom we have no idea at this point. But as I've said before, we'll know soon enough. You know, justice is coming. I think the snowball is beginning to gather speed. And I do think in the near future, the American people are going to begin to see a true Department of Justice at work, representing our interests, we the people, because justice has been a long time coming. But it's on the way, folks. I absolutely believe it's on the way. And justice matters. Folks, as always, please stay safe, please stay tuned. And if you would like to support our all-volunteer efforts here at Justice Matters, if you'd like to become part of Team Justice proper, I invite you to come over to patreon.com and you can sign up to become a patron and support our efforts and our mission. And if you do, go to patreon.com and sign up. I'll send you some Team Justice stickers and a personal handwritten note of thanks. And folks, I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.